1 whole year ago I played through Death Stranding, and I didn't make a video on it. At first, this was because I didn't know how to summarise my thoughts on the game, but as time went on, and I still hadn't made the video, I decided it would be best to wait until the 1 year anniversary of the game. If this video does come out on the anniversary, it's a complete coincidence, but I have scheduled it to release pretty close to the anniversary. You see, Death Stranding divided people. Some loved it, some hated it, and there wasn't really an in-between. But after a year has passed and the dust has settled, it's time to revisit this game, and take a look at what it did, and whether its reception was justified. With that in mind, join me as we explore Death Stranding, 1 year later. I want to get one thing out of the way straight out of the gate. I love Death Stranding. It's a unique experience unlike any other I've ever played, and is something that I think everyone needs to try, though it's worth pointing out it isn't for everyone. The reason for that is the core mission structure. When you boil the game down to its bare bones, yes, it is a walking simulator. This is not a criticism though. There were few moments when I was bored playing the game. Moments of true downtime are few and far between, and when they do come, I assure you, they're very welcome. With few exceptions, every mission plays out in a similar way. You pick up a package, you plan ahead what you choose to take with you. Do you want a ladder or a rope? How many materials do you want to carry? Is it safe to bring a bicycle, or will it be a rocky journey where it will be best to go on foot? Do you have to voyage through a BT invested area? In which case, you should bring the necessary precaution items. Once the planning is done, you go out and you walk to your destination. It's often peaceful, often not. I spoke a lot in my Sekiro video about the art of the little victory, and it must be said that Death Stranding masters this as well. Every time you get past a mountain or build a bridge and connect the world just that little bit more on that later, you feel that immense satisfaction. It's not for everyone, but it's certainly for me. There are 3 main types of combat in Death Stranding, and here I'll be discussing them all. We've got the BTs, we've got the humans, and we've got the boss fights. The best executed one for me is the BTs. What begins as a source of simple frustration evolves into some of the most engaging gameplay of the last few years. On reflection, that's a statement that could be used to epitomise the game as a whole. You have your baby in a jar. Yeah, I haven't explained the baby in a jar, and I'm not going to. And he tells you when you're facing the invisible little swines, and will glow orange when you're too close and need to hold your breath. It's incredibly tense, not only because if the BTs devour you there will be catastrophic consequences, but also because you just want to complete your mission and they're preventing you from doing so. As you progress, you of course get more upgrades such as an anti-BT grenade and the ability to cut their umbilical cords. Yes, they're umbilical cords. It makes sense when you play, I assure you. When you know you're free of their clutches and your little propeller sinks away, it's a feeling of sheer relief, as you can now go back to your walking simulator. Then there's a human combat, mostly with the mules but also in the weird sequences with Mads Mikkelsen, who by the way is absolutely phenomenal in this, and rivals Roger Clark in Red Dead Redemption 2 for the best performance in video game history, at least for me. The shooting really isn't anything to write home about, it's actually pretty mediocre, but it's not a focal point of the experience, and happens rarely enough that it really doesn't matter. Combat with the mules is actually pretty fun. Once you enter their areas and start flashing up on their radar, unless you take the necessary measures to prevent it. Then they all converge on your position and you are tasked with taking them down. It's pretty fun to do, but much like everything else you come across in the game, they serve as obstacles, preventing you from reaching your objective. Then we have the boss fights, which are all pretty cool and usually involve Troy Baker as Higgs, another great performance. You're usually tasked with going toe to toe with some ginormous BT animal, such as a lion, and they're pretty frustrating. This isn't a game where the movement mechanics were designed with boss fights in mind, and it shows. Everything Sam does feels so slow, so the boss fights never really flow as well as they should. But alas, the boss fights aren't what you're here for. What you are here for is the experience, and oh my word, what an experience it is. It's pretty ironic that in the 12 months that have passed since Death Stranding released, it seems as though the world has become even more divided, as we all have become even more stranded apart from one another, quarantining away in our safe spaces, away from the dangers of the outside world. It's almost as if Kojima could see the future. It's wild looking back at Death Stranding through the lens of the world today. and quite frightening how accurately it's depicted society's reactions to a pandemic. In this dystopia, the world is disconnected, and it's up to you, Sam Porter Bridges, to reconnect everyone once again. I cannot go into too much detail about the story, because it's intrinsically linked to the core of what makes this game what it is. Even if the gameplay doesn't gel with you, you need to play this for the story and overall experience alone. The most impressive aspect of this is how connected you begin to feel as you plough through, despite living in a world where you're explicitly so alone. At the start of the game, there's nothing. The desolate hills are all you have to accompany you. But over time, especially after the 10-hour mark, you start to notice progress as the game opens up. Bridges are built, bikes are found scattered around, and the messages of advice are left around the world. Sure, Dark Souls did this earlier, but nowhere near to the same effect as this. Death Stranding's entire purpose is to show that we can remain connected and work together during times of crisis, and help each other up in order to create a better future, not just for those we care about, but also for those that will come to live in this world once we're gone. There are moments in Death Stranding unlike any other game, like when you're struggling, you've run out of resources, you're stuck in a ditch and you don't know how you're going to get out. Then you spot a ladder, left behind by another player. They could have taken it for themselves, but they chose to leave it behind just on the off chance that a random player they'll never meet could use it, and the only thanks you can give them is a like on their ladder. Death Stranding provides us with an experience unlike any other. The gameplay definitely will not sit well with everybody, but any game which wishes to evolve the medium forward has to take these risks. People didn't like it, but you cannot deny the impact that it's had on player interactivity. Watching the barren landscapes transform into fully fledged cities, I guess over your 30-ish hours, is remarkable, and that is the power of Death Stranding 1 year later. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, then please consider leaving a like, as it would be greatly appreciated. If you want to see more content from me, then make sure to subscribe, as I upload videos just like this one every single Friday. Have a nice day, and goodbye.